Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. We've got a lot to get into today. A lot of players out for the season. Of course, when we're at this point of the season, all it takes is a stub toe to put a player out for the remainder of the year, because that's where we're at right now. Not a lot of time left in the NBA season. Joining me is Keith Smith. Keith, I'm in the bad place right now. That's just where I'm living on a daily basis in Lakerland. I know you are not in such a place.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you because remember when they thought they were in the good place, but it turned out they were in the bad
Yes,
place?
yes, I do.
That's kind of where
That's where
I
we're at.
think we might be, right? For Celtics fans right now. Looked like we were in the good place on Celtics Nation here with first place in the East
Mm-hmm.
last night. Another dominating win. They're up to second biggest point differential in the
Mm-hmm.
NBA and just we're absolutely rolling. And now Robert Williams out for an indeterminate amount of time. Torn left meniscus for Robert Williams. Lateral meniscus,
Oh.
which is apparently, as I've become a expert here in the last several hours, is less severe than the medial meniscus, which is on the inside of the knee. It's the outside. It's what Joel Embiid played with last year.
Mm-hmm.
So some guys can play. It all just depends on the severity of the tear and the location of the tear and those kind of things. So we'll find out more per the Celtics later this week. So it sounds like they're probably going to get in there and get a look at it. And then we'll know a little bit more. But for now, they're going to be without one of the key members of what has been a very dominant team and an excellent unit. Even when they weren't playing well, that starting group was really, really good.
He's been a big part of why defensively they've been able to play big
Yep.
and still get out to guys, get out to shooters. I'd have to
Yep.
imagine Daniel Tice is going to get leaned upon quite a bit.
He'll get leaned on more. Grant Williams as
Yes,
well. Grant has tended to be the one who starts when either Horford or Rob is out. So we'll see if that's where he goes. With that tonight's not going to give us any indicator. They're playing the Raptors in about an hour and a half, and the injured unavailable list is Robert Williams, Al Horford, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. So
uh,
none of them are playing. So yeah, I think we're not going to get a full look at. I kind of think if Marcus Smart plays at all, I think that might be a Marcus Smart makes a cameo appearance. Maybe gets the old Keith Bogans of starts each half and then is out pretty quickly. But we'll see. I mean, these were the games under Brad Stevens
mhm.
that Boston invariably played really well and tended to do well in. But I somehow I don't think that's how tonight is going to go.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing is we start to see players get shut down at this point in the season. Not, I mean,
Yeah,
for playoff teams, just to try to rest them up a little bit, try to avoid injuries, things of that
exactly.
nature. So won't get a great idea of exactly how the Celtics are going to pivot tonight, but still, I mean, fingers crossed. Hopefully, he winds up being able to come back at some point during the playoffs and you can get that production out of him because he's been, for a guy that a lot of us question whether or not the salary was a good one,
Yeah,
right? I mean, we talked about
yeah.
just if he can stay healthy, it will be a good one. And for the season, he's been pretty healthy. But then when
Mm-hmm.
we look at now playoff time to not have him, that would be a big blow for Boston. And I mean, something
Absolutely.
that could change the outcome of the Eastern Conference side of the playoffs for sure.
It absolutely could, and I'm not trying to be rainbows and sunshines here. The one thing I will say with the Celtics, I apologize for all the noise. We've got a rush to soccer practice going on here at the Smith House. Clearly not me, but it was Boston has been killing teams. Like they're not even playing close games lately. I mean, they're winning these games by 20 and 30 points. It really, and this has not been like a good week. This has been like a good month of this now. The other thing is their defense is so far since they really kind of got it
Hmm.
going ahead of everybody else that even some slight regression defensively, and even if the point margin tightens up a little bit, they should be okay. They should still be in a spot where they should still be pretty good. It's just, everything's harder now. That's the way I've been putting it all day. Everything's going to be more difficult now, but they should still be okay to, be a really good team, a really good competitive team. And then we'll find out. Maybe this turns out to be he's only down for, a week or two. We've still got, roughly, you know, we get 2 weeks left in the regular season, just under. But it's really almost 3 weeks till the playoffs start because of as long as you're a top six seed, you're going to have basically a week
Right.
off between the end of the regular season and the start of the playoffs. Let's not get too deep into it and too freaked out yet, Celtics fans. Let's time will tell. Where we're going with this one.
Speaking of which, on the Lakers side of things, we got some good news and some bad news. You saw, I hesitate to call it this, the game last night. That was absolutely brutal, and was just a microcosm of the Lakers season and a narrative that we've seen play out time and time again from the Lakers side of things, where they find ways to lose games as though they're actively seeking them out. But they also lost LeBron James to an ankle injury. He gutted out, played the rest of the game, but very clearly was not anywhere close to 100%. And afterwards told us that his ankle felt horrible. That was his word. And then admitted that it had swelled up. Today, when we got our media availability, Frank Vogel admitted that it swelled up, the ankle did, and LeBron James is officially doubtful for tomorrow night against the Dallas Mavericks. Anthony Davis, meanwhile, got upgraded to doubtful. So there's some good news. Went through a full practice today, including scrimmaging and all of that. So bad news, good news. Both LeBron and AD doubtful for the game against the Mavs, but hope that LeBron, it's not a long-term injury, and Anthony Davis sounds like he is decently close to returning for LA.
Yeah, it's getting down to it, right? Time left in the season standings wise. They have, by far and away far more difficult stretch to close here than either the Pelicans or the Spurs do. They're just a game up on the Spurs, and you just got to imagine Greg Popovich would love to knock them out. They actually asked after the Spurs beat the Pelicans on maybe Saturday, it might have been. I think it was Saturday. They asked DeJounte Murray, like, do you guys want to get into the play-in tournament? He's like, yeah, absolutely we do. So yeah, we'll see organizationally if that's still the goal. If they pull any more of these games where everybody sits, that starts to tell me a different story. But if they're gonna play it out the rest of the way, it's gonna be a battle to get in. And it's yeah, I mean it didn't look good when LeBron went down. It was one of those, then he gets up and he played, and it's like, man, this dude's just, like we say, he's a cyborg, he's a robot. Nothing could take him out. But you could tell by the end of the game, he didn't have any lift. He wasn't moving well, and just, and then, as you said, the rest of the guys just don't step up, and it just kind of falls apart and becomes a mess.
Yep. And that's the world that we're living in right now, certainly. But LeBron James, hopefully his ankle does heal up. But I mean, air travel doesn't help with that. And that's what the Lakers are doing a lot of right now.
Yep.
Speaking of injuries, though, we've got almost our whole show's injuries today.
Yeah, that's all it is, really. And a few signings. Mostly related to injuries.
Exactly. But a little bit of good news, too. Paul George. Paul George is back. He's practicing. Will he actually return to the floor? Well, the Clippers are kind of playing coy with that, which, not surprised. That's the tactic that they're taking. But Paul George sounds like, if everything goes well in practice, maybe we see him actually play again, and that could throw a whole new wrinkle into the Western Conference playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely could. I mean, I don't think that's enough when we get into the actual playoffs that I would pick them over Phoenix or Memphis. It looks like they're going to be the 1 and 2 seeds, but it is interesting to see. Let's see what that looks like. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what that looks like. But my guess is, yeah, you're not having them do 5-on-5 work if your thought is not getting back on the floor this season. Certainly gives them a better chance in the play-in, whether that's Minnesota, Denver, whoever it is in the first round, and then into the second if they need it against Pelicans, Lakers, or Spurs. I think I'd probably pick the Clippers against all three of those teams, especially if Paul George is playing and is Paul George.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the Nets. Kyrie Irving says he will re-sign with the Nets this summer. That was in question for a while. Would the Nets even want to keep him around after everything that was going on? That was a topic of discussion at one point this season. Yep. But now Kyrie is back, been reinstated to play full time, even at home. And he says he wants to stay with the Nets. He's not leaving his guy KD.
Yeah, now I do have to say, I've heard this story before.
Yes,
in front of a
sounds
full building
familiar.
Of fans. Yeah, I'll re-sign here if you want me to. Now, in fairness, by the end, nobody wanted him to, so maybe that was why he didn't. But he's gonna stay in Brooklyn. There's no way. Now that this is cleared up and he can play, there was no chance he was ever going to leave. He's going to stay right there. And they'll, probably next year, I still believe, they'll have him and KD and Ben Simmons and probably a pretty good team, they'll probably be right back near the top of the favorites list with that. Hey, let's jump back to the Clippers real
Yeah.
quick because they made a series of transactions
Oh, yes,
over the
I missed that.
weekend. No, that's okay. They waived Semi Ojeleye, waived him. He just never really found that rhythm with Milwaukee or the Clippers. They used that spot to convert over to Amir Coffey was converted to a standard contract. The Clippers had no form of exception available to do that, so he's going to be converted. And then to replace Amir Coffey on his two-way deal, they signed Xavier Moon, who had been with them previously on a two-way. So there that is. Hey, just let's go back to Robert Williams because news just came out. Ime Udoka speaking pregame. Robert Williams will have surgery, but does no form of timeline or anything like that.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously surgery, you're not going to get a quick return from that.
No.
But we'll see. We'll see what
there are
means.
surgical options you can do with a torn meniscus that can be somewhere in the 4-week range. So we'll see.
Tough blow. Absolutely. James Wiseman has been shut down for the season. This is a guy that we were hoping would come back and perhaps make some kind of an impact for the Warriors. The Warriors have consistently been pretty hesitant to say that he's going to be even part of their rotation, but officially shut down. Kind of a lost season for him. We were hoping to see more from him this year, but just has not happened. We're dealing with one thing after another on the injury front. So that's one less big body that the Warriors will have to turn to should anything happen with Kevon Looney.
Yeah, it just couldn't get there, right? It sounds like this was one where I think the Warriors looked at the calendar and said, "For where we're hoping to go, we can't ramp them up where we want to be." And this setback after having his knee injury, the setback of the swelling after a few G League games, that's tough. So here we are.
Another big man that's out for the year, Miles Turner for the Indiana Pacers, and of course, when we say out for the year, it sounds awful. It sounds like, oh my gosh, he's out for the year, but there's just not that much time left in the year. So the Pacers deciding, we're just going to hold Miles Turner out for the remainder of the season. Yeah, it's not even is he ready to get on the floor or not. It doesn't make sense for them to put him on the floor, particularly if they do have an eye towards potentially trading him this offseason. I mean, the worst thing is you put him on the floor and then he suffers another injury. Yeah, that's not the position the Pacers want to be in. So it makes total sense for them not to play him for the remainder of the season and instead to look ahead to this summer and beyond.
Yeah, and we had talked, I feel like probably a month ago, hey, this might be a good opportunity to get him out there when it sounded like he was coming back. Get him out there with the guys they acquired at the trade deadline, see what that could look like, put them together. But there's 7 games left. That's not enough of a look for it to be worth it. So you just, you'll get that look this offseason and go into next year with whatever your new iteration of your team looks like. My guess is, I don't even think it's really a guess. They're going to try to rebuild this thing on the fly and get back to being a playoff team next season. So we'll see, whether Miles Turner is a part of that or not. My guess is, at least initially, he will be.
And they do sign Justin Anderson on a 10-day contract. So they'll bring him in. Justin Anderson, he feels like he's been everywhere at this point. He's bounced around quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around the league over the course of his career and this season, but played really well in their last game. We're getting down to it. There's only a couple days left to even sign 10-day contracts because once there's less than 10 days in the season, your only option is to sign a player for the rest of the regular season. So yeah, we'll see. Good for Justin Anderson. To kind of catch on for the rest of the year with Indiana, and hopefully he can parlay that into, something, maybe a deal with some guaranteed money in the next season or something like that.
Some more guys who are out for the season: Hamidou Diallo, Josh Giddey, Darius Baisley, all out for the season. And again,
we hit the Thunder and former Thunder.
Yep, exactly.
Out for the season. Yeah, Josh Giddey hip soreness. So that is, it is what it is with him. Darius Baisley, his is a non-displaced tibial plateau fracture in his right knee. I don't know what that means, but that doesn't sound good. and then and then we'll see where they go from there with those two guys. Obviously Giddey, a huge part of their
Mm-hmm.
future, basically big part of things as well. And then Hamidou Diallo, for Detroit, you don't want to be down a guy. Not good timing for Diallo either, going into a year where the Pistons hold a team option for him for next season.
Yeah, I wonder what they do there with him. That's going to be interesting.
I think they're going to decline.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they're going to go for max cap space because the reality is, right, his team option, I believe, is for $5 million, right in that range. You can always re-sign him using a chunkier cap space, or even at this point the room exception, if you go that way for that same amount of money. So that's my guess, is that's where that one will
Sure.
go.
Okay. Greg Monroe gets another 10-day for the Jazz. At one point, he was one of the best big men in the NBA. Now you're seeing him kind of bounce around a little bit, but he can still help a team. He's not the modern style center. His style of play is a little bit of, years gone by, but I think this is fine for Utah to pick him up on a 10-day.
Yeah, completely agree. This is good. Now they're down. Udoka Azubuike is out for the rest of the season. Their second year big man. He's been ruled out for the rest of the year. And then Rudy Gobert has been injured recently, did not play yesterday, as well as Hassan Whiteside is dealing with some stuff. So they got to get somebody in there. Why not Greg Monroe? He's probably one of the more plug and play bigs in there because he's a good screener, good passer, can still do some stuff as a scorer in the post. So you just kind of go with it from there.
And kind of a cool story, the Pelicans signed Jose Alvarado to a 4-year deal. He's had some moments for them. He's looked pretty good. In fact, earlier in the season when they played the Lakers, a bunch of Lakers fans were going, "Who is this Alvarado guy that's just lighting us up? Super quick guard that can get things done for you out there." And just cool story that he was able to now stick long term with the Pelicans.
Yeah, big time for him. And I saw some people say, why did he take this deal? Couldn't he get more money? Well, sometimes, one, a player and their agent always have a better understanding of what the market looks like than anybody else does. But two, if he's really comfortable there, it may not be worth the risk of trying to find a little bit more money as a free agent. And he would have been a restricted free agent, and that would have gotten potentially messy as well. So, yeah, big time. I love that thing he does where he hides in the corner as the other team's inbounding in, then he sneaks in front of the ball handler and either steals it or gets the guy to kind of shuffle. He caught Alex Caruso with it a couple games ago. So yeah, he's sneaky, man. He's tough too. Tough little guy. I love those tough little guards. Some of my favorite guys in the league are guys like him.
That's why we talk about Isaiah Thomas so much.
Absolutely.
He fits that mold. Last thing we've got here, the Blazers ruling out use of Nurkic, Anthony Simons, and Eric Bledsoe, all out for the remainder of the season. And the Blazers, of course, they have long ago started looking ahead to the offseason and rebuilding this team around Damian Lillard. Anthony Simons, of course, they're going to have to bring him back, but they're going to be looking to the future and seeing what they can do this summer. So not a surprise that these guys are shut down. That's it. And they'll look forward to this summer.
Yeah, the Trailblazers are must not watch basketball now. It's really tough, and I hate saying that because they've got some young guys, but I mean, even their young guys are now getting hurt. It's just a complete mess in Portland right now, just with so many guys out.
All right, okay, this was just the injury update show. I mean, that's
tell me about
aside
it,
from Kyrie,
and I've been typing through the whole thing because. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I'm typing through the whole thing because I'm trying to catch news on Rob Williams. So, trying to do my other job.
He's multitasking there. Yeah, and you just never know when an injury is going to hit you like a slap in the face.
Yeah, tell me about it. This has not been.
There it is. There it is.
Oh, man.
There it is.
That went right over my head. But I caught it.
I had to throw that in.
What does Jack say? It would knock over my head.
That's right. I am too fast.
I was a little slow, but then I caught it there. Too fast. So speaking of which, Moon Knight in 2 days. Moon Knight starting up.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so excited for that. Yeah. Let's go. Good. Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. I can't wait to get to see that. Thank you, Disney, for giving us something to distract from this Lakers season. Appreciate it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We'll take it.
All right. I think that does it for today. Everybody, we are still deciding on what we're going to call front office fans. We got some pretty good suggestions on our last show.
We did. Yeah, keep
Yeah,
them
keep them
coming.
coming in. We'll see. I saw like agents, stuff like that.
So that
Execs, armchair
executives.
GMs. I saw a number of different things.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we'll settle on
Yeah.
something.
We'll get into it.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, two guys, we know this was a very quick hit show. Trevor and I are both under some time issues today. We tried multiple times to get together today. We will come back to you later with more in-depth analysis, like what you're used to from us on some of these injuries and what they might need. A little bit more detail by the time we talk again. But yeah, we know this one was quick, but it was intentional and necessary.
Yep, absolutely. Just a tough day for scheduling, but again, we will be back with more tomorrow. Till then, everybody, see ya and stay safe.